Okay, so we are going to have a quick discussion. So it's going to be, we'll do about 20 minutes with Faith. Then I'll open it up for you guys to also chime in. Arthur, just give me that piece of paper. Yeah, and the pen. Then I'll invite you to chime in, but be nice, okay? Be nice. Don't ask controversial questions that Faith will not be able to answer. But it's about opportunity, and from the beginning of this session, of this forum, what we've been trying to do is share trends, identify challenges, but most importantly, see where the opportunities are. Because I think, I always tell people, Africa has so many problems, and all those problems are actually opportunities. We just need to switch it. Yeah? Look at every problem that you see in the marketplace as an opportunity for you to create a solution from. Good? Awesome. Faith.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good to
Happy
have you.
birthday.
Oh, man.
Since I didn't manage to do that yesterday.
Thank you. Thank you. By the way, guys, I had a blast. I had a good birthday, so thank you. You guys, you gave me blessings, right? Yeah, so thank you for that. So Faith, just quickly, yeah? Who are you? Who is Faith? I'm sure a lot of these guys are wondering who you are.
Okay. That's a good question, a question that we ask in every interview. Tell me about yourself.
No, I didn't ask that question. No, I didn't do that.
That's a good question, and thank you for that. I think I'll start by saying Faith is a mother. I say that because, like I was sharing with you earlier, we easily pull that out of who we are, so I want to start there. I'm married to one husband, and I have three boys who keep me on my feet.
Stop. Married, okay.
Yeah, and I have three sons who keep me on my feet. They're all below 7. So when you see me on the side there, just give me a hug, assure me it's fine. But anyway, started off in banking. I keep saying I moved from the people who needed the app to those who make the app. And I'm glad I made that shift. Then, of course, shifted into tech. I worked for Oracle. And then, of course, I'm at Cellulant. I'm a therapist as well.
What?
Let me let that sink. Yeah, so it's interesting.
Therapist?
Yes. I studied psychology, behavioral psychology, corporate psychology. What happened is, and I say this because I think it's important, I got into leadership very young. And so I remember the first team I was handling was like 27 people. And did you hear? People, So I was seated there super confused about myself and about these 27 people all over Kenya. And so I was like, do I go to uni and do strategic management, which was so popular in my days? And I have no offense, there's no offense to strategic management. And I was like, what about I get into school and learn about myself and human beings, because our customers are human beings. The teams we manage are human beings, the boss who you need to manage is a human being. And one of the best decisions I've ever made. Yeah, awesome. So yes, I've studied therapy. Who Faith is as an individual, I'm aggressive in a good way, not aggressive as my tribes people are. I'm a serious go-getter. I love a good challenge. I tell every employer, the day you see me bored, no, I'm not challenged anymore. So I have to wake up to a good challenge. I am 38, super excited about turning 40. And why I say that is that I've had some very interesting conversations with people who are past 40. And so I'm looking forward to that. I think in essence, that's who I am. I also spend a lot of time mentoring. So if I'm not speaking in an event like this, you'll find me doing a lot of mentorship. I keep saying there's so many mistakes I'd have avoided if I'd gotten people to tell me authentic stories, not just tell me their successes. So I like to do that for people who are younger and who are willing to listen anyway.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
No, it's quite a package, yeah? Yeah?
Thank you.
So let's switch gears a bit.
Sure.
Cellulant. I think Cellulant is arguably one of the earliest fintechs, and also probably one of the most successful. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have numbers, so
Yes.
don't ask me
Yes.
numbers. Yeah?
Leading
You confirm.
payments
You confirm.
company in Africa.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So, the thing about companies is they grow, then they plateau, then they decay. Yeah? And to avoid that, you have to continuously innovate.
Yes.
Yeah? So, what's happening at Cellulant right now?
I'll say we are continuously innovating, like you said. One of the things that the founder, Ken Njoroge, kept saying that I think is magic, for lack of a better word, is, follow the customer and their pain, you follow the money. And I think that's why as Cellulant, we really don't know the plateau. In fact, when you look at our history and our journey over the 18 years, I probably think we had the plateau just when Dusit happened, because we were hit really hard. And it wasn't really a plateau, but that was our biggest hit. But we've, over the years, just continued innovating because we're following the customer and their pain. And of course, the customer's needs are changing. And so that means we are always at the heart of what the customer is thinking, saying, feeling, and just making sure we are ahead of that. And so what's happening in Cellulant right now, top of mind partnerships. Partnerships are very big for us. And in the last few years, we've taken part in quite a number of partnerships. You've probably seen them. We've partnered with UBA, of course, just to advance our reach in Africa, to be able to offer better services to their 50,000 plus customers. We've partnered with NALA. We've partnered with Market Force as well. You've probably seen that as well, etc., etc. And in essence, what we are saying is there are even other fintechs out there who maybe don't have the capability that we have. You don't need to suffer by yourself in a silo. Come, let's work together. Let's see how we build that together. I keep saying banks are our legacy business. We understand banks. Like you rightly said, we were first in the market. I remember when I first heard about Cellulant, I was a banker seated on this other side of the room, and they were telling us how they can help us connect the money in my mobile wallet with what is in the bank. And we're like, that's ridiculous. People. Like, are you guys even serious? Like, why would I need that? And to just see how we've been able to transform just digital banking and now getting into the enterprise business, now we are looking at how do we partner with these banks, because we already have them on board, to just better support their customers. And I'll tell you how that happened. During COVID, we had a lot of our customers, of course, come in and they're like, how do I go completely cashless? Because customers are not coming to my store. That's A. Then, of course, a lot of these merchants going completely cashless, then having to deal with recon issues. And then banks coming to us and saying, I'll give you an example. One bank came to us and they're like, I have a customer, they have a 200 million recon issue. Solve it for me, I can't. And we were like, you know what? Why do I need to go directly to this customer if I can go through the bank, and just offer, these services? I remember in my banking days, I would go sell to Harry a current account, savings account, a fixed deposit account, a loan account, right? So why not, as a relationship manager, still sell these 4 things, but also sell, checkout solution, a pay-by-link solution, an in-store solution to these customers, so that the bank doesn't have to go through the full investment, but they can just get it through us. And those are the sort of partnerships and collaborations that I think will make up the future of banking, really. So those are some of the things that we're doing. And I'll tell you, we have up to 18 banks that are on the line for this specific solution. So it's needed. As a few banks have even been like, Faith, can we just lock it to just us till we are live? Then you can add in all these other banks. Like we want it for ourselves. That's how big it is. And not just for Kenya, we're in 35 countries, so it's expanding to all the other countries. So those are some of the things we're doing. The other third thing I'll mention is that we are also scaling. like I earlier said, we're in 35 countries in Africa. And what we are seeing is, like a meeting I had this morning, and this customer has set up in Kenya, has been here for 9 months, now wants to go into East Africa and then Francophone and South. And they're like, can you do that journey with me? And there's no better feeling for me than to say yes. You know, that I'm not only taking care of you in Kenya, I will take care of you in all these other markets. So scaling for us is big, and just being able to have an Africa that's one, you know, that it doesn't matter where you are in Africa, you should be able to transact. And of course, globally. Yeah, so those are some of the things happening.
Yeah, I like the Africa focus, because it's also a vision that I really believe in, that, you know, we need to, you know, it needs to be Africa first, then the others.
Yes.
But, you know, in different countries, you have different interests and different people with different interests. But I want to just take you back a bit.
Sure.
I am a founder of a company.
Yes.
I am an entrepreneur. And, you know, in African businesses, the natural thing to do is to own a company, run the company until you die, then the company dies with you. That's a natural thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Ken, your founder, actually sort of created a transition for himself and for the company, and brought in new management to take on the company. How did that pan out? In terms of, because you see, a lot of these companies have the founder DNA in them. And it's very, when you remove the founder, it's very easy for those companies to just... So how did that transition?
That's a very good question. And I probably will start by saying, I think it's such a privilege to work for Cellulant. And I'm not just saying that because I work there. Like, there's just something amazing. Like, Harvard or somebody just needs to do a study about Cellulant, because it has so many things, so many good things going about it. I remember when Ken first called me, you know, to just have a chat way before I joined, and just listening to his vision, you know, about what he sees for Africa, what he sees for payments, what he sees for Cellulant. And I was like, I would just love to be a part of that. And I think what his vision was not his. You know, it was fed through every single person. Anyone in Cellulant who will sit on this seat and you ask them that question will probably say the same thing. And if I was to use your words, that DNA is not Ken's DNA. I think it's a Cellulant DNA. It's in everybody. Like, you literally walk in, and you know, we joke in the organization, like, you'll come for an interview, and as soon as you walk in, we can tell if you have that Cellulant DNA. Because,
oh, really?
Yeah.
So do you walk like this? Or
No. It's just something that is just so, maybe it's in the four walls, so to speak. And it's something that he was able to work in. And as he walked out, like, nothing broke. Literally, because it's like fed into every fiber of the organization. And that's why you hear people quote, you know, like how he says, you know, follow the customer, you follow the money. You know, it's because it's not him, it's just in every person. And that's how the organization has been able to live past him. And I don't think, if he hadn't set it up that way, he wouldn't have had the courage to live genuinely. And I'm guessing even the people who've been there for very long, even though they all left, the organization would still have life and be able to move, which I think is a fantastic legacy for even other startups and SMEs to learn from. That from day one, that yes, you're running this organization, but to be able to let it live past you and just set up certain things in place to make sure that it can go beyond you, but which is fantastic to be part of as well. Yeah.
Good. Then, so you're in 35 countries and probably the most successful. I'm saying probably because I don't have numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably the most successful fintech in Africa. What's your secret sauce?
Wow. I'd say grit.
Grit?
Let me explain why. The other day I was in a meeting, And why I talk about that Cellulant being a DNA, the Cellulant DNA, I was in a meeting, and the customer makes a comment and goes like, that he can literally see the founder in us. Like we're just going at it. So there's a lot of grit, and there's a lot of customer obsession, for lack of a better word. Like we pick a customer and we don't stop till we make sure they're fully taken care of. I remember during COVID, just customers coming in with all these aspects, going like, I want to be able to just get a checkout solution ASAP because my customers want to buy online, and quickly partnering with someone to make sure we can roll that out, because maybe you don't even have a website, and so just quickly coming in and taking care of that, so customer is at the center. And not only at the center for PR, but that we obsess about it, that we want to make sure we are hearing what the customer is saying, and we're going that extra mile for them. One of our mission, they call it our core values, is customer delight, whatever it takes. So it's not just customer delight, but whatever it takes, to just make sure you're fully taken care of. And I think that's why we've been trusted by the leading airlines, the leading ride-hailing companies, the leading banks, and the list goes on and on to leave us to handle the payments, and they can focus on their main business because they know we are taking care of that. So I'll say grit, the customer delight, whatever it takes. And I think most importantly is innovation. Way before I joined Cellulant, I'd always say I'd love to work for Cellulant because, we'd hear news from them fast. Like any new thing, no offense to anybody in the room who has an app, but the first time I heard about
everybody
apps,
has an app. Yeah.
I know, right? Anyone who set up an app, really. The first time I heard about that was through Cellulant. So it's also a team of very innovative people. And I think we also take care of our people. And I saw this, I wasn't working for Cellulant then, but during Dusit, that the organization came to a standstill from the board to the leadership to just make sure these families affected and the staff affected were fully taken care of. And people drives the organization. And so I'd say those are the few things, according to Faith, that stand out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of startups, and I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them, struggle a lot. They struggle to navigate the regulatory environment.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially the startups within the fintech space.
Yes.
Because of the way, actually, I think fintech, education, and health, startups are in those sectors struggle to navigate that regulatory environment because those sectors are heavily regulated.
Yes.
You are in 35 jurisdictions.
Yes.
Yeah? Which means you are dealing with 35 regulators. Is that correct?
Yes. Well,
how do you navigate that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, some countries, the regulators are a bit easier, or maybe you don't need a license to operate there. But in majority, of course, in Africa, you need that. And what you sort of see is the brand is the same, so to speak, in terms of the regulators behave a certain way, and it's almost similar. The expectations are the same. Maybe since we're in Kenya, I'll give an example of Kenya. I remember when I joined Cellulant, and we were still in the process of getting our certification, our license. And what I've seen is that it matters how you found your business. Yeah, the foundation is so important, so that way, whatever blocks you're putting on top of that, are sitting on a good foundation. Because what happens is that when the regulator comes in, the checks that they're doing, whether it's in terms of security, aspects of your financials, etc., you're not building on a wrong foundation, and they'll easily see through that. So maybe to advise any startup, any fintech, just set up right. The founders of Cellulant took a lot of time to just make sure we were set up right, ground up, and that helped when it came to going through the vetting process. Then the second thing is spend enough time building those relationships with the regulator. I think so many times as leadership, we call it, is it stakeholder management and aspects like that. I think it's so important to be able to build those relationships. So you're learning what's happening, you're learning what is needed, you're learning what changes have been made, what could work, what couldn't work. Then you can be able to set up the organization that way. And then thirdly, just invest. Invest in the right things that are needed, where the world is going, whether it's in terms of the ISO certifications, etc. And then also invest internally in your staff. So many times we have maybe just somebody in legal, just taking care of that. But I think where the world is going in just aspects of data protection and just all these things, there's a Bitcoin aspect that's becoming a big thing in cryptocurrency. So it helps to just have people in your team who are looking at that. Just managing the compliance aspect and the regulator. Because when I think about the fintech space, it's not just CBK, for example. There's the Communications Authority. There are so many other regulators. I think it just helps to have somebody, and not even somebody, you might need even a bigger team, And so for us, we have a very large team sitting in Nigeria. We have part of the team seated in Kenya. So, of course, and other aspects of the different parts of the continent, we still have people who are able, if we need like someone to read a contract in French, we have taken care of that. So just building that sort of infrastructure and structure really helps you as an organization when it comes to the regulator. But at this point, I'll also say that worry not, we have been licensed. So if you're a startup and want to just start powering payments, you can also partner with us. Yeah.
Okay, I'll charge you for that. I'll send you an invoice. That's marketing for you.
Yes. But you could be seated there as a fintech and you're like, oh man, if it took Cellulant X amount of years, how long will it take for me? I don't think it's taking too long anymore. The regulator is quite supportive. But until you get your license, you can look for us. Yeah.
Okay. So my last question before I open to the audience is, I know there's several investors in Cellulant, some big, some small,
yes.
Some who came earlier, others came later, and all these investors, I've dealt with investors, and all of them have, investors look for return on investment.
Yes.
And sometimes people have different ways to the return, or looking for different ways to the return. So how do you manage and balance investor interest and customer interest?
Yes. That's a very good question. Maybe I answer it in two ways. So firstly, outside Cellulant, I sit on 4 different boards, and I get to experience a bit of that. And I think it helps a lot to have confident leadership, and leadership that believes in the brand and what we are doing. Yeah, so like you need to have an ExCo that is saying, yes, this is our go-to-market strategy, these are our numbers, we have faith in our teams to deliver X and Y project. So that way we are also able to direct and per se govern that sort of narrative or conversation. And so I've seen that in just some of the organizations I sit on the board on the side. And then I'll come into Cellulant. We've been very lucky to have very on-the-ground investors, so to speak. On the ground in that they're not so far removed from what's happening in Africa or in Kenya, so to speak. So they're very understanding in that sense. That does not mean they don't want the bottom line to make sense, but what they're looking for in the bottom line is very realistic and coming from a place of understanding. So you'll sit in the board meetings and you can see that, even in the sort of questions they're asking. They're not asking questions, that are too out of the box, like maybe talking about 100x growth, and realistically with proper ambition, maybe the best you can do is 10x. So we've been very lucky to get those sort of investors. And they've put in, I think we're at $61 million in terms of the invested funds. So they've put in quite a bit of money. But these are the same investors who come back and they're like, these guys have done well, let's give them bonus, and even in difficult times through COVID, that they're able to come back and ask, how can we support you get to this number? So I've seen a good experience with Cellulant, but what I know, even as we go for further investment, is that I've seen how we set up our decks, that we're able to put down, this is who we are, this is what we stand for, this is how we want to be seen in Africa, and so when that is clear from this end, then the investor also knows what they're getting into. And that has worked all through Series A to C, and I think will work beyond.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But I think we're in a good place. We've been lucky with the sort of investors that we have. Okay,
some questions, please, quickly. Just move to the microphone on either side. You can go to...
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
I wish it would have been like my session yesterday. We talked about embedded finance and banking as a service. What you're doing is something very amazing. You're actually changing the whole business model where the banks were in the front end and the suppliers, the service provider were in the back end. Now you're flipping it around. You put the banks in the back end and you are the front end. What's the next step? Would you become a bank at some point?
So maybe I say that's a very good question. We are not really coming to the front end. And that question comes up a lot actually with the banks. The bank, I believe, is still in the front end. So for example, some of the platforms that we offer, when your customer gets into it, you'll still see the brand of the bank. I see some of the banks in the room. I'm tempted to say their names, but I might be charged some more.
It's okay. You can mention. Which one?
They know themselves. So the bank will be seen in the front end, really, and even on the platform, like the payment gateway or the dashboards where you're seeing all these digital payments coming in. And then you'll just see the small powered by Ting, which is our platform, powered by Cellular and powered by Ting. Yeah, so the narrative is not really changing. Maybe we are like this, and not that we are really coming to the front end, no. The merchant still belongs to the bank, so we're just powering those sort of payments, yeah, so to speak, yeah.
It's easier there.
Yeah.
Hi, Faye.
Hi.
Peter from Jumia. It's quite some interesting conversation there. But I have one question, but it's combined into two. Okay. So basically, the question that I want to ask you is, what are the unique opportunities that you see in payments that you feel from where your state is not exhausted?
Yes.
And number two, which is tied to number one, is what's your take on supply chain in terms of business vertical? Thank you.
You're looking for consultancy, free consultancy.
Opportunity, supply chain. So opportunity, top of mind, which I didn't want to talk about when he asked what's happening at Cellulant, digital lending, where it has to get easier that when you walk into any shop or any store, that yes, you're paying by Ting. Some of our customers call us Ting Pay. So yes, you pay by Ting, but if I don't have sufficient funds, I should be able, whether it's a supermarket or wherever, to be able to get, funding to pay and, using the data, because data is one of our assets. So that's one big thing I see, not only within Cellulant, but just in the payments ecosystem. And the other opportunity, I think Africa is still at a point where the number of people who are unbanked is still very large. Yeah, I think it's still around, 57% are still unbanked. That's like almost 95 million Africans, that's A. I think also Africa, cross-border payments are still very expensive. Yeah, that's two. And then number three, I think fragmentation is still a thing. If I open my store today, I still have to deal with MNO A, MNO B, and C, then bank, then card scheme, another card scheme. So just being able to offer a solution where fragmentation can be cleaned up, I think would be a big deal for us. And it's things that we are working on and launching, and I think is a big deal. So I think those are the three opportunities, top of mind, that I'll bring up, apart from what I've talked about before, because I think it is opportunity. If banks, no offense for the bankers in the room, would move quickly. Yeah, we take off our, I'm a banker, so I can talk about banks, right? I think I have permission. We take off our high ties and we say, you know what, let's move faster, partner with these fintechs, and tomorrow be able to offer X, Y, and Z to the merchants, both banked and unbanked. So apart from those, the banking aspect, I think those three things are the opportunities I see. You asked about supply chain, and I smiled because we've been having amazing conversations with the FMCG, and some of the things that we're doing have a bit of the lending aspect and lending to the last mile, where, let me give an example so it's easier. So if you look at the anchor FMCG merchant, let's say, let me not give an example, maybe let's call them X, and they have this whole list of distributors. So reconciliation is a nightmare for these people, So being able to just offer them the simple solutions that we have, whether it's in-store or pay by link, so that all the transactions come through that specific dashboard, then makes it easier. We were speaking the other day to one of the largest distributors in the country, and they were talking about how if Harry pays today to get stock and use your number, if you come and pay tomorrow and you don't have, like, let's say the 10K, and so you ask Faith to pay for you.
Ian, I've seen you.
Yeah, and
we'll be done shortly.
Sorry, Ian. And so tomorrow you pay with a different number. Because they know Harry, they release the stock, but you don't know how to trace that sort of transaction. So there's the aspect of taking care of the recon aspect and how to digitize that whole ecosystem, because of course a lot of them is the trucks moving, picking cash, fraud is immense, and of course recon. So that's A. And then B is the last mile financing, which we're taking care of. I'm very excited about, because tomorrow that means any SME or distributor who needs stock doesn't have to do too much. For as long as we have that data, we pay the anchor merchant and they get their stock. Okay. Yeah, so that's a fantastic question. Yeah.
Evelyn, okay.
Personal female question. As a woman in tech leader, I've watched, I admire what you've achieved. I've watched your journey and listened to you. For me, it's more, how do you navigate the power structures? How do you also be able to navigate the different divides and opinions, especially in such a male-dominated field with such a male-dominated team? So that's, for me, just for the women in the room, for myself, and I think I'm truly inspired just listening to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that question. Wow. This is very personal for me, and I'm even writing a paper on it. It's titled, so far I only have the title and the thoughts are in my head.
It's supposed to be a book.
Yeah, yes, amen to that,
okay.
A book. And so the title is, I'm still figuring out the title, but as we break the glass ceiling, what else is breaking? Yeah, you guys should clap to that, right? I'm just kidding, but genuinely, I think there's so much opportunity for women. And I think it's shifting. If you look at Google in Kenya right now, it's led by a woman. If you think about Microsoft, Cellulant, and like so many other tech companies. So I think there is a shift, but I think we are not there yet. Yeah, in terms of just having the women representation. I can't tell you how many times I sit in meetings, whether it's within Cellulant or elsewhere, and I'll just take time to count. And I'll look around and be like, oh my gosh, I'm the only lady in the room. So it's still a thing. And as women, we must be able to break that bias, so to speak. And over the years, what will be in this paper is that I've sort of figured that out. I was reading a research the other day that was showing that most women get off at a certain point. When you start to become a mom, and things like that, and you're like, let my male counterpart take that over. Of course, again, because of aspects of imposter syndrome, maybe the leadership as well is not supporting this woman. Because having a creche and a place to, do your thing, and all that is not enough to support women. So I keep saying just having a creche is not enough, and so you'll find the leadership needs to be able to do more so that Faith is able to know that I can become a CEO and still sit on ABCD boards, still raise my 3 children, and, and do many other things. But I think women, need to have courage. Yeah, I sit in so many boards even where women just sit. You know, we need to be able to have courage to speak out. And no offense to the men in the room, but this is a tip for the women. I notice most times when you sit even in a board, like men will just speak even though I was talking. So just speak louder, you know, because like you'll notice a dude starts speaking and I was talking, just speak louder. I'll dare say this, don't serve the tea. My book will be good, but don't serve the tea. Serve tea at home.
Don't serve the tea.
Yes, don't serve the tea because some of these things just make you, because at work, we're equal. At home, I submit to my husband. I'll serve him tea. But in the office, imagine we're the same, right? We are, right? If both of us are chiefs, we are both the same. Push away imposter syndrome. Everything we need is on the other side of fear. So stop fearing. It's okay if you think you're a fraud. Just do it anyway. You know, like just take that step and move forward anyway because you're there seated on that table because you have something to give. And whatever you need to learn, you'll learn. And my final point, which is the most important, what else is breaking? For as long as our support systems are not good enough as women, because the role we play at home is not what the man plays. So if our role is not fully taken care of, these glass ceilings, that glass falls and hurts us. Then tomorrow, people will be like, let's not give women these roles because they're not sorting us out at home, right? So I'll give you a personal example, Harry, if you don't mind. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I noticed is that most people say have a good support system, but that means what? My 3 boys probably have 3 nannies and a driver, and I'm not there. So one of the things I did is that I don't keep a live-in nanny, and I'm going personal. And why I did that is that way I'm able to make breakfast for my family every morning. Imagine. And I'll have to do that because that's the season I'm in. And I say this loudly so that the next woman can do the same thing and we normalize it. If a man today says, oh, I was in a meeting the other day, and a man goes like, oh, my wife is about to have a child, so the next few weeks I'm not able to join these meetings. And we were all like, ooh, ah. But if it was a lady, we wouldn't say the same thing. So let's normalize it. The first meeting I can have is at 7:30 because I need to handle some things at home. Yeah, and it's okay to say some of those things, you know. And then it makes it easier for this patriarchal society to begin to change, you know. So then, and then also women, finally, don't apologize for being expecting, right? Don't say, I'm so sorry, sir, you know, I just found out I'm pregnant. No, just be pregnant, but still be 150% present at work. You know, being pregnant, we are not sick up here, but so many times the few women who've gone before us make it look like it's sickness, so we are not hiring pregnant women. Hire a pregnant woman, but if you get hired, be present. When you come back from maternity leave, be present at home, but please be present at work. We have 100% ability to handle all those things. And please understand your season. So if you need to do all these things, you're still able to do them. But it can't be done. Let's go for it. And don't fear. Everything you need is on the other side of fear.
Awesome.
Buy my book.
It was impossible for me to stop Faith.
Sorry.
It was impossible. So your lunch will be about 20 minutes late. But I think it was worth it. Ian, just 1 minute. Tafadhali. No, it has to be 1 minute. Yeah? 30 seconds for me and 30 seconds for Faith. So in 30 seconds, Faith, tell us something that nobody in this room, nobody in Celluland knows about you.
Nobody in Celluland knows about me.
Yeah.
That when I was in campus, I used to do TV and radio. I worked for a TV station, so I did TV and radio. That was my first job.
No wonder.
No wonder what?
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yesterday, Ahmed, we had one of the CIOs from Equity Bank here. And I asked him a question. I told him, you have one CEO, one CFO, one CMO, one CHRO, and 12 CIOs. Are you building a tech company? And he said, he almost said yes, but he didn't say yes, but he almost said yes. And when I listen to you, I want to ask you, are you building a bank?
No.
Okay.
I'm building a solid strategic partner for the bank.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Faith. Truly appreciated. Awesome. Awesome.